Hello! It is Thursday, and it is noon Central Time. Lunchtime, as a lot of people call it, taking a break to get away from the office, get some fresh air, fill your bellies with something delicious,
And
and
mine with
yeah,
something brilliant.
something for your mind, something for your soul. And I want to welcome everybody who's here watching or not watching or watching in the future as they've come across this stream later on LinkedIn or Facebook. This is Liberal Arts MBA. It is a brand new show just for LinkedIn and Facebook. And the idea here is it will be a live stream show with myself. My name is Jacob Sager. And as you can see to my side here is my good friend, Sara Sands.
Hello. Nice to meet everybody out there around the world on the etherwebs. Pleasure to be here with you today.
Remember the good old times when there used to be TV hosts and they'd say hello to everyone out there in TV land. It's kind of like you're saying that in the etherwebs.
Do people even have TVs anymore? Do we watch things that aren't on our computers? Unclear.
Do people still watch things on computers? I thought it was all on phones now.
Oh man, I'm so behind the times.
And smart refrigerators. That's a good place to watch things.
That is what I felt like I was missing, is a refrigerator to tell me when my milk had gone bad and I needed to get more. That's what was missing. I'm glad we solved that problem.
Yeah, but you hear the joke, if the refrigerator's so smart, why doesn't it go out and buy a new milk for you?
One day, the technology will catch up to us. One day.
And so the technology has caught up to us today, where Sara and I were just talking about how long we've wanted to start a show or do something together and bring our talents together. And so here we are live. And it's because the technology is caught up and we can be in two different cities running a live show at the same time on the interweb, broadcasting to an audience and articulate our ideas. So this is Liberal Arts MBA. It's a show. It's a live stream show. We're a couple minutes into it. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jacob Sager. I went to the University of Texas at Austin. I got a degree in English with an undergraduate.
What did you do with a degree in English?
With a minor in government. And I took a lot of social work classes on top of that. It's just kind of to let you know about my undergraduate background. I live in Austin, Texas. I have 4 beautiful children, 2 boys, 2 girls. I'm married. We have a front yard and a backyard. And that's pretty much myself.
Wonderful. And hi, everyone. I am Sara Sands, coming to you live from also the great state of Texas, but in Houston. I'm a new transplant back south. I grew up in New Orleans, just spent some time and hopping and bopping around Europe, and then in New Orleans and made my way back down here. I have a B.A. in political economy and English from Tulane University in the great state of Louisiana. And while Jacob was out exploring the things that the world had to offer, I was exploring everything that academia had to offer. So I have a master's of philosophy and education with a focus on politics, development, and democratic education, say that 5 times fast, from the University of Cambridge in the UK. And I'm currently a PhD candidate at Teachers College, Columbia University in New York City, where I've been studying politics and education. So Jacob has children and I am single, hot, vaxxed, not waxed, but still ready to mingle. And I come with all of my many degrees at this point. And I'm excited to be here and a part of this journey.
Well, I'm glad you're part of this journey too. But what is this journey? Is it
what is it?
Live
Tell me more.
Another business podcast? So I want to say this live stream as a business show is to do something like a little bit different. For the most part, when I look around LinkedIn and when I look around business television, everything's really focused on financial markets and the big IPOs, which are important. They're capital markets, all that. That's a big piece of our economy. And a huge piece of our lives, but that they're, for myself and for a lot of people I know, that is not even where we work. Those aren't the conversations we're having every day. That's not the impact we're making. So in this live stream, every week I want to bring kind of something new from the depths that's the rest of the economy, that's the rest of the workforce, that's people who have liberal arts degrees who are working in the human part of the economy, or maybe not even in the human part of the economy. Maybe they're still in the capital markets, but the liberal arts is part of how they got to where they are and made them who they are. And something that impacted their worldview and how they talk about things and approach things.
Yeah, and so I think the important thing here, as Jacob and I were coming up with the vision for our time together on this show every week, is that we want to bring you like totally normal-ish, because they know us, so how normal can they be, but totally normal-ish people just doing totally awesome things in their career. And they all have a background, like either they got a liberal arts degree and they're using it in their current career, or they went in an entirely different direction. But the important thing here is that they're adulting it hardcore, and they're creating value that is like beyond the way we think of it in terms of just like the money you can count in your bank account and in the GDP. That like they are doing dope shit for humanity, professionally speaking, and contributing to making society richer. And they're doing that because they got this incredible perspective from liberal arts degrees.
Yeah, and there's so many different liberal arts degrees and career paths. Like it's not just one thing or one form of thinking.
Yeah, so we should probably talk more about that, because this is like one of those things where, something that we say all the time, but we never really stop to define it and think about what it means. But like what we talk about when we talk about liberal arts, and like, I mean, truly, there's nothing more liberal artsy and pretentious than asking that question, other than like maybe starting a live stream about like college degrees on a business networking platform. That like could be qualified as a pretty pretentious thing. But like real flex for a moment, thanks to Raymond Carver and his editor, Gordon Lish, for giving us the working title, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love. And then to Nathan Englander, who, came up with What We Talk About When We Talk About Anne Frank. And then like, let's just credit Jay-Z while we're at it for his brilliant song, What We Talking About. And if you ever thought that you would be sitting here having your lunch,
to talk about.
If you ever thought you'd be sitting here having your lunch watching LinkedIn and hear about Anne Frank and Jay-Z in the same podcast, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Like what do we mean when we throw around this term of liberal arts? What are we talking about, Jacob?
So I would do what any college student does, and I would go to my university's webpage and pull up what they mean by that.
We're such good students. The University of Texas thanks you.
Yeah. Well, they got my money, so I appreciate the thank you. So this right here, I'm going to read. This is the definition of liberal arts from the College of Liberal Arts at the University of Texas at Austin. So I'll do my reading voice here. The liberal arts have always been at the core of a strong university education, emphasizing learning across a broad range of subjects, from humanities, such as history or literature, to social sciences, including economics and psychology. You'll acquire skills that never become obsolete and prepare you for endless opportunities throughout your life. This makes a liberal arts education applicable to almost any career path. That's my Walter Cronkite voice. When I was at UT,
that's great.
Their official commercial was Walter Cronkite narrating. May he rest in peace. I like the part that I love about this is you'll acquire skills that never become obsolete. I like that because the art of rhetoric and the art of grammar and trying to understand and break down ideas and concepts and communicate them is timeless, and it exists beyond all languages and is important to any field, including, engineering or things that aren't the liberal arts per se. And the rest of this sentence, and prepare you for endless opportunities throughout your life, which I also like because I did not become an English professor, as we'll talk about, or anything like that. But
you did not.
What
I become a storyteller.
Part of my life. So this is the University of Texas definition.
Yeah. Let's take a look at my alma mater at Tulane.
Scroll down. It was actually a lot more words.
Shocker. For those of you who know me personally, the fact that I would come from a place that uses more words than less probably checks out to you. So the School of Liberal Arts at Tulane encompasses the arts, humanities, and social sciences through 16 departments and 19 interdisciplinary programs. With a broad array of majors, minors, masters, and PhD programs, students can choose to specialize in a wide number of fields, developing longstanding interests or discovering new passions. Engaged in the liberal arts, students not only learn key skills of writing, analysis, and communication, but come to understand better both themselves and the world beyond.
Do you relate to any of that?
Yeah. So I was thinking about it as I was listening to you. I mean, I think there's like a few words here that really stand out to me. And the first is interdisciplinary programs, that like the whole, going back to what you were saying about the University of Texas and this idea of like giving individuals a broad array of skills and mindsets and capacities that are applicable, not just within the field of study that they choose at the ripe old age of 18 to 21, but really like going beyond that to think about how do these things fit together? How do the different things that we study, from politics, to economics, to English, to psychology and more, like how do they all fit together to strengthen us as thinkers? And where can we go with that? And the other thing that I really like about this is the idea of discovery, of discovering new passions, discovering ourselves, and developing this like intrinsic and internal curiosity for the world beyond. That to me, that is why we engage in the process of like learning for the sake of knowledge, and to connect us to ourselves and to connect us to others. And so that like really sticks out to me as at the core of a liberal arts degree, that it's not like just about what you're studying, but it's about how you're able to grow yourself and connect to others and apply that beyond your own sphere.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So why the MBA part,
The MBA, talk to me.
So let's move out of this image here, get back to our faces. So the MBA part. So one piece of it was, if you go through, say, the podcast directory on Apple and you're looking up business shows, half of them are called buzzword MBA. So that was kind of where I got the
innovation, MBA,
conception.
synchronicity, MBA.
It's, an MBA is an important and valuable degree that a lot of people have. I was actually in an MBA program at one point. But there's a small piece in which it's kind of become a buzzword in terms of business publishing nowadays, I think. But the buzzword still has this value, which is like, as opposed to just like a small idea, it's that what you're learning here is applicable to many industries and is applicable to the practice of the art of business.
Yeah.
So that's why I like that concept of MBA. I mean, who doesn't like an overpriced degree or a buzzword? It all kind of falls together here. But another piece of it is that I think business skills are important for everyone. Like the art of owning or running a business isn't necessarily for everyone, but that there is value in trying to understand that and understand that, it's a game, it's an art. There's like examples of so many businesses out there that are so successful and amazing, and there are 10 times more of many that have failed. So it is this uncovering of history. That's kind of a liberal arts thing, but it's also the process of an MBA doing case studies from, the Harvard Business Review of all these businesses over the last 150 years.
When you came to me with this idea, and you said MBA and you said liberal arts MBA, what I really liked about it, I've spent a lot of time in academia. I also have past experience in the business world and in business consulting. Now I work in like research and data. And what I really loved was like the juxtaposition of these two ideas, that often when it's like presented in the media, but like when we like read about it or when people talk about it, often it's that they're in conflict with each other. That like you can either do something liberal artsy and pursue your passion, but like what will you get out of that? Is it useful? Can you professionalize it? Can you make money from it? And then this idea of the MBA, which is really like the epitome of what we think of like professional degrees that you get with a purpose, that you're going to get this degree and you're going to get the job and you're going to be able to make some money and contribute to the economy. That like we talk about these things as if they are different, but in actuality, they're really not. And they both meet each other. And so when I heard your vision around marrying these two as craft, it really made a lot of sense to me. And gives us an opportunity to talk about things in ways that we don't normally see in society, and to pull out the patterns in that and tease them apart by looking at ourselves and looking at the world around us, the other people who are doing it. I do want to take a moment on this and talk about like why it's important for us to be speaking about this now, which is that like, we're going back to normal. And I hate saying that because I think it's true that like nothing is normal and we shouldn't ever use that word and talk about it as such. But there are trends that we're seeing since the pandemic that reflect where we're going in the world of higher education. And so, particularly in the United States, there's been a move away from standardized tests for college admissions. There's been an increase in financial aid available for students experiencing financial hardship, so much so that even like institutes within Harvard are advising Harvard University that they need to reflect on what they're doing as an elite university and that they need to be democratizing and diversifying within higher education to provide more opportunities for low-income folks and for people who are traditionally left out of elite, institutions like higher education, and to focus on low-cost, high-value virtual degree programs. And I think these changes are really here to stay. And so there's an opportunity here to highlight the liberal arts again, to say you can go to college in a variety of different formats at a much broader price point than we had available. And you can really think about what your passion is in terms of learning. So we need to be talking about liberal arts because there's an opportunity here for people who normally wouldn't have access to liberal arts degrees to maybe finally have that access. And that's really important. So the liberal arts degree is not dead, and we should be talking about it more as something that's real to us.
Yeah, another thought I had about why this is important is with the trend that, there's trends saying more people are going to college and less people are going to brick and mortar institutions full time. Mm-hmm. And so my thought with that was that if that's the case, people might be leaning a little bit more into getting a degree that is so professionally bound, as opposed to what you were just saying about learning and about getting this kind of bigger, broader sense of things. When I went to college, my uncle said to me that I needed to get a liberal arts degree because if I was going to kind of hone in on anything professionally at grad school or in professional training, they would go over all my prereqs from freshman year for a year. It would be a waste of my time. But that even more broadly, that no one was ever going to require me to know what humanity has done over the last 2,000 years. But if I don't know that, I'm going to be stuck doing it again. And I think that's a really kind of important thing if less people are going to have these requirements, are going to go through some of these institutions to bring this conversation a little bit more publicly back into the workforce.
So Jacob, you've already provided me with the perfect segue. And for all of you watching at home still, thanks for sticking with us this long. We want to give you a little bit of a sense of like what this is going to look like. And so we're going to take this opportunity over this episode and the next to interview each other and find out our own backgrounds. Jacob and I have been friends for a long time, but I guarantee there's probably things we don't know about one another yet. Funny enough, we never actually talked about why we majored what we major in, even though it makes no money. Just kidding. Hashtag Kanye, old Kanye. So let's kind of segue into that. So you introduced yourself. You shared that you went to the University of Texas. You majored in English. And you just shared this beautiful story about your uncle advising you on like doing liberal arts. So no one would ever ask you about what exactly humanity had done in the past, 2,000 years or whatever it was, but that if you didn't learn it, you were going to repeat it. So tell us a bit more about like, how did you decide to major in English and minor in government? How did you get there?
So that's an interesting journey there. So my uncle had that talk with me when I was in high school, finishing up the year and getting ready to go to college. And he asked me what I wanted to major in. And I really wanted to get, and I don't know why, I wanted to get a dual degree in geology and history. I figured it best of both worlds in the sciences and in the humanities. And that kind of, technically they were the same thing at some level. But at the University of Texas, geology ended up being its own independent school. And just being an 18-year-old freshman, I found myself in my own particular existential crises through my social interactions with people that had nothing to do academic-wise. And so I kind of started bouncing around academically inside my freshman year. Like I know, millions of people do. Even people who are very, very sure of themselves and their career path when they start. I was not. I didn't know where I wanted to end up in life. I didn't know what I wanted to do in 4 years and anything like that. And so I tried around in a couple of different places and bounced around and talked to different teachers that I really liked. I almost considered a degree in the communications school at UT, which is a Moody College of Communications, but it would have been in communication studies, which at that point, as a freshman, was way too wide of a field that didn't make sense to me, so I couldn't do it. But then I found myself, and it was just being 18, and I was just like on a Saturday when, nobody's up to anything. And I'm an early riser, so it was actually only even still 10 o'clock, but I'd had a whole morning. I found myself, I sat down and I was reading Siddhartha. I had a copy of Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, and I picked it off the shelf, and I was just reading it, and I just was like, how can I do this all the time? How can I do this? And then it just clicked for me, like I should look into the English program here. And I went and I talked to one of my professors, Amina Moinfar. She was my rhetoric professor. And the funny thing as a freshman was UT had all these basic writing requirements. And I thought I had them from my high school, but they didn't show any of the credits. So the first day of orientation, I had to take this English test. But I went to a party the night before, and I missed by 1 point. So I had to take.
I actually remember the day you took this test.
Yeah.
I think you called me and you were like, you won't believe this thing that just happened to me.
Yeah. I was like, and the best part about it was they show you your score, one question away from getting, it was just credit, no credit. I was one question away from getting that credit. But instead, I got to go to Rhetoric 306, which was not a bad course. There was a piece of it in which the actual skills that our teacher wanted us to take away, I had already acquired in my senior year of high school, at least I think I did. But the material and the interactions with people, just really turned me on. I loved it. And it was the first time I actually ever considered really that writing is a muscle that I could work on. I loved it. And so that's how I decided on an English major, which is kind of, I just was a young, struggling man. And it kind of aligned with my personality and my passions. And
as so many of the great writers are.
Yeah.
What's funny is that I also, majored in English, and I think we have laughed throughout about how we inadvertently each came to that on our own without ever discussing with each other, despite the closeness of our friendship. But you came at it through wanting to read all the time, and I came at it through believing that I had something to say and wanting to write all the time, and knowing that to get there, I had to not just practice writing, but practice reading and be a good reader. So I think it's funny how we each found that through the different parts of the core skills in an English degree.
Yeah.
I want to hear about what you do now. And I have often described you as a multimodal entrepreneur, which is something like a media guru. But I want you to talk to us a little bit in the time we've remaining about what do you do now, and how does your major play a role in that?
All right. So thank you for calling me a multimodal entrepreneur. I'd call myself an entrepreneur. And the multimodal is very appropriate because I'm putting my energy in a couple different directions. So for the last few years, I've been working as a independent WordPress consultant. I have clients who are people I've met and specifically harvested, who I try to get to work with me on a long-term basis, and I manage their WordPress site. But it's more than I manage it. I actually help them understand how the technology can meet their needs for their business. And sometimes it's in this very fun place because we're talking about front-facing web pages where I get to, I'm thinking about them, their business, they know the language of their business, they've established it. I'm not writing for them. But we're taking that, and then we're taking this functionality of a website and these steps that they need their customers to go through. Sometimes, I'm describing a sales funnel right here. Sometimes it's a web sales funnel. Sometimes it's other things. But that it's this challenge to tell the story to the customer while in an interactive way.
Right.
So that's this WordPress example I can give. And that's my main thing. If you ever want to talk WordPress, just DM me.
I do want to tell everyone listening that it is impressive, actually. So Jacob has grown his business organically and continued to grow his skill set kind of organically through his own interest and based on the needs of his clients over time. But he's been all self-driven in this, and watching that journey, Jacob, for you has been incredible to see you grow in the way that you've been able to work with people and help them tell the stories that they didn't even know that they were trying to tell often. So that way of like translating what people are feeling and thinking into something that they're able to let others consume alongside them has been like really beautiful. We're almost out of time, but I want to quote you back to yourself, and tell us a little bit more about what you mean here, which is you told me at one point that I work in something where we still don't really know what we're doing. Everyone just wants to consume something that they think is interesting and that they can learn from. There's an expectation that I can manage. You told me that once. You're like, when did I say that? But in a conversation we'd recently, you said that. So I work in something where we still don't really know what we're doing. Everyone just wants to consume something that they think is interesting and that they can learn from. Tell us more about what that means to you and how you're able to use the skills you have to like bring that to life for other people.
Yeah. So like life is a discussion. That's what my parents always say. Like life is a discussion. Things kind of only exist in our language and in our understanding of the language we're sharing with other people. And so was I talking about WordPress when I said this?
You were definitely talking about, I think we were having a conversation about how you've grown in terms of like your way of putting different media together to tell stories for people.
Yeah. So like with, I don't even know. What I'm beginning to realize and where I'm actually kind of pivoting and transforming myself a little bit more is that we're all consuming media and we're all simultaneously producing media, whether we're kind of, dropping in comments on a live stream or even producing our own little ideas in a notebook that we never share with anyone. But that like, there's this fallacy I always feel people have that the world used to be perfect and we left that, or we're about to go to this world that's about to be perfect and we just have to establish something. But it's not that we live in this like untethered wild chaos. It's just we don't know where we are and we don't know where we're going. We just are trying our hardest to either create that meaning or find it. And I think that tension is the interesting thing of, it's either we're looking for it or we're trying to create it. And I think good businesses and good organizations have people who embody both of those poles or fight off of both of those poles. And so
I love that. I love that idea of we're all just trying to create value and we're all just trying to figure out where that meaning is for ourselves and help each other find it. I love that idea.
Yeah. And so I want to keep learning. And I actually I was trying to avoid dropping this name, but I'm a big student of Marshall McLuhan. I'm an aspiring media theorist.
You made it with 2 minutes left.
I know.
Well done.
Oh, we're so close to me not mentioning Marshall McLuhan today, but I couldn't help myself. And one thing he said about he was describing what would happen once the video telephone would become a central part of the workforce. And this was in the 70s when it was not an actual tool. It was like a toy that AT&T made for like the World's Fair or something. But he said that what was going to happen is that entertainment, education, and work are going to become indistinguishable, and that the people who are going to have the most success once that happens are going to just lean into that and make their leisure, their pleasure, and their work the same thing. So kind of now what I'm trying to do, like on top of my business to make money to pay for my children's health and happiness and birthday presents, is to really do things like this, bring out the stories and the questions I want to have and have that be work that I'm doing, but also have that be entertainment for other people, because that way it's fun, it sticks, and it can grow. And I don't know, it's a loose idea here, but it's something that's been in my mind a lot recently.
Well, clearly I'm along for the ride, as well as hopefully whoever stumbled across our live stream today. I have some very quick rapid fires, and then we're going to wrap this up. So something that you read recently that helped you continue to clarify your purpose.
Oh, great. I read the book. It's called The Cosma Hypothesis by Frank White. It's largely on the future of space civilization, and as humanity continues to grow and migrate past our border with space.
I love it. We'll call Elon Musk. Maybe he'll be on one day. What is something that people often misunderstand about your profession or your major?
I don't know how to code. at all. I manage really complex WordPress websites for people, and I do not know how to code, but I know how coders think, and I know how business people think, and I know where they miss out in their conversations. So really, I'm a translator and a problem solver.
Love it. And then last one, what are the top 3 tracks on your repeat list right now?
That is a good question. What are the top 3 tracks on my repeat list right now? Is the song Famous Tracheotomies by Ockerville River. It's kind of weird. Love it. This other song called, I think it's called Journey Back Home. No, it's this artist called Home. It's electronica, really. No lyrics, almost not even a complete melody. Not exactly Boards of Canada. And, just always some James Brown or Aretha Franklin. You got to get in that soul music, especially when it's summertime.
I love it. I'll make you a playlist. Right. So we're going to wrap this up now. This has been our first inaugural premiere debut. Insert other exciting words here.
Yeah.
This episode of Liberal Arts MBA.
Yeah. Next week I'll be interviewing Sara, our co-host, our lead host here on her journey. If you can't wait to get more of us, please like our page on LinkedIn. Follow Sara and I on LinkedIn. You can connect with me. I'm happy to connect with anyone, but you can also click follow. And also, Liberal Arts MBA is a page on Facebook. So please like the page and feel free to share this post at any time on your feed so more people can see it.
And feel free to message us on LinkedIn or Facebook with your major and what you're doing now. We are looking for guests, so feel free to join us and be part of this conversation. We're kind of like that couple on OkCupid that's sharing a dating profile because they're dating together. Except instead of asking about your zodiac sign, we just want you to tell us about your college major and brag about your career.
We do. So thanks for joining us. We hope for many more, and we want to have you.
See you next week, 12 o'clock Central Time for the second episode of Liberal Arts MBA.
Peace.